Hey everybody, Jeff Marr from Elizabeth School District, and joining me is Jared Lewis, Assistant Principal and Athletic Director of Elizabeth Middle School. Jared, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, as you've probably seen, October is National Principals Month. It's a month
Yes.
dedicated to showing appreciation for our hardworking principals and assistant principals because it can be a tough job.
Very.
It's not for everybody, and we're going to be talking about some of the rewards you get from this job, some of the challenges you get from it, and your background.
Yeah.
So let's start with that and just how you got into education first and
Yeah.
foremost.
Yeah. I've spent my career being a school counselor, so this is actually my first step into the administration role. I was a school counselor for 8 years prior. Started off in D49 and moved around in some diverse area a little bit, but
Mhm.
ended up here. Very fortunate to be here. So yeah.
So that's a big change going from counselor to now assistant principal and athletic director.
Yeah.
That's a big job to be tackling both of those arenas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's that been like? I mean, has that been kind of a challenge for you to multitask all of that?
A little bit. I think the biggest difference, well, honestly, there's a lot of similarities in kind of what I was doing as a school counselor with the AP role.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also spent a lot of time coaching, and I was very involved at the high school that I worked at most recently at Eagle Crest High School, where I was coaching and I was doing all the scoreboards and all that kind of stuff. And I love sports. So
Yeah.
um, it's definitely been a lot of similarities in both of those. In the counseling role, I think that is partly what I do with students and even with staff. I love to approach staff and students and not from a place of anger or frustration or anything in a negative context. I always want to come with some level of positivity in our interactions and always try to find the positive in stuff. And that seems to be a lot of what I was doing in my school counseling role. And then with the athletic director stuff, the kind of the same thing. I mean, there's a lot more than just being a coach
Right.
for one sport. But getting to see students out in their element, playing sports, having fun. That is just, it's one of the best things that you can do. Just seeing students outside of a school having fun, enjoying themselves is awesome.
And I think it's good that you have that background as counselor because as you continue in this profession, and you're already in the role where you find yourself in situations where you're mentoring students who are going through a difficult time.
Yeah.
And not all administrators have a counseling type of background. They might not have that empathy
Yeah.
that you have from that background that would really connect with that student.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I feel like I'm making a lot of really good connections with students, and I'm super fortunate that they've taken a liking to me so well.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is with that role or with that aspect of things and just the way that I see them kind of as young adults.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the duality to that is that, or the other side of that coin, if you will, is that I've never been in the classroom. And
Mm-hmm.
so trying to really be honest and transparent with my teaching staff of like, hey, I'm here and I'm doing these observations and all this stuff. And like, I'm looking for certain things, I'm looking at certain things. And I know that I don't know a ton. So like whatever you
Yeah.
can help me learn and grow in that area, I want to learn and grow in that area as well. Cause I know that I don't have that skill set.
Right.
And I could never do what they do because they do a great job at it. And I chose a different path for a different reason. So
Yeah. So I alluded to the challenges of the profession. Everybody knows that there's a lot of late nights and weekend work, and you really have to give it your all during the school year, and that's why it's built the way that it is, so that hardworking teachers and administrators and anybody in the profession can have a break during the summer because it's a lot.
yeah.
So how have you been able to handle those challenges, and you get a lot of curveballs thrown your way?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is trying to give myself grace. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a lot. I'm going to school right now. I'm doing it, assistant principal, and I'm doing athletic director. It's
Not
a
enough
lot.
hours in a day for all that.
I'm trying to find some and still have a little bit of a life too.
Yeah.
So trying to give myself grace in all of that. It's October so far. We've made it 2 months, and things have been going well. And it actually feels like I've been here longer. I accepted the position back in April, so Ryan and I have been working together since April. So it feels like I've been here for forever, in a good way.
You two are a great team.
I think so.
You really tackle things here efficiently,
Yeah,
and it seems like you work together really well.
we do. We have a lot of really honest and hard conversations with each other. I think that there are times where she can address things that I'm doing wrong or just haven't done well, or can kind of help elevate me in that way. And I think in the same way, like we can have really honest conversations about things that like, ways that we've handled situations with students or with staff and just really bounce ideas off each other to try to make EMS the best version of itself.
And do you like your experience here so far?
I love it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the kids are awesome. The job is awesome. It's a lot of growing, and that curve is pretty steep. And I would say more on the athletic director side of things, just in terms of all the stuff I'm learning and doing. But I love it. I wake up every day and get to come and hang out with students and get to come and hang out with staff and just have a good time for what it's worth. A lot of hard stuff, but I try to find the good in every day.
I can tell you I was not the best version of myself in middle school.
At all. I was terrible.
I was not academically. I was not athletically.
Absolutely.
And athletics were a big part of my life. I was not that great at sports at that time. I was still figuring myself out.
Yeah.
Academically, not good. And behavior, not so good. Now that I look back.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that happens in middle schools everywhere. It's just that age range.
Yeah.
So they're going through a transition type of time from elementary to high school.
Yeah.
And during that is a growing period that's tough.
Absolutely.
And then you're caught in the middle of that.
Yeah. It's funny. I talk to my mom and my dad about it all the time of like, man, I just the way that I treated you guys and made you feel. And when I was in middle school, I get it now and I'm sorry. Like you had just me and I was a brat, and brat is just the kindest word I could use for myself in that.
Right.
So for me to have, 400 students who get to make me reflect on my own poor choices. And I think that's also why I have a lot of empathy for them. Because there's things where what I was doing in middle school versus where I am now, I'm like, dang, that was crazy. Why was I doing that? And so I can see that in them and kind of hopefully try to call out some good in them and let them know that they're loved and cared for regardless of their actions. Like their actions aren't who they are and they don't define them in that way. So
yeah, it's important not to judge too much.
Yeah.
Because I hear a lot of that from the outside when they look at incidents that happen in middle school. Well, why would the students do that? Well, think back to when you were in middle school. And that time that we were going through, it's a challenging time.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and this time is even harder with cell phones and social media and all that kind of stuff. I had my first cell phone in I think 8th grade, and it was a flip phone, and you paid for text, like 500 texts a month and all, like, so the change from even that to having all the social media, the TikTok and the Snapchat and all this stuff that is really engrossed, and it really can be really awesome in a lot of ways, but it's also very distracting and can be very harmful in a lot of ways. So balancing that with sports, with school, with everything else, their plate is full. So trying to help ease some of those burdens.
I had a pager in high school.
See, yeah.
And back in those days, there wasn't the risk of cyberbullying with pagers.
Right.
Yeah. And it was usually my parents paging me. So that's something to think about too. Anything else you want to tell the audience about, maybe something that people don't know about you?
Yeah.
For Kimberly, for example, she writes her own children's books. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I'm not that cool. Yeah, I think that I am just like, I'm grateful for the opportunity I've had here to be in the district, to really be the athletic director, the assistant principal, to make these really awesome connections. I'm having a good time, even if it looks like I'm not. I promise I am.
Yeah.
And I don't think it doesn't look like I'm having a good time. I just want people to know I'm having a good time with all the learning and everything that I'm going through in this experience. Man, I think I just love my family. Like when you're like, tell me something you don't know. Like I spend all of my Sundays. So we call it Sunday Fun Day, but it's not like that. But it's like myself, my brother and his wife, and then his 3 kids. And then we usually have people come over throughout the day, but I just love being an uncle. I have my niece just turned 7 on Friday. I have 2 nephews. One is 4. The other one is 1.5. And I just get to spend time with them. I see them weekly, and that's like a good recharge for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
and athletics too is a recharge for you. You're still involved in playing, right? Here and there.
No, I
you shoot the basketball every now and then.
Not in front of people. I do work out. I try to work out trying to figure out time between everything else I'm doing and all that.
Yeah.
So trying to get in the gym a couple days a week to keep myself mentally and physically motivated and moving. Have played in softball leagues and things like that, but
yeah, and we've talked about that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
we need to get you on the team.
Yeah, in April. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, just really enjoying what I'm doing and trying to figure out ways to be the best version of myself every day for myself, for my staff, for my students.
Well, you're doing a great job here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
And
that.
thank you for all that you do, all the work that you put in, all the hours, all the mentoring that
Thank
between you and Kimberly that you do with the students. It's crucial to the development
Yeah,
of those kids.
absolutely.
And actually, when she wrapped up her interview, she pulled me aside and told me a pretty emotional story about a student who was really down,
Yeah,
and that it was one thing that she had said to him years past that stopped him from making a really bad decision.
that's awesome.
And he's now doing great. But
Yeah.
but it just goes to show that every little interaction, every little thing that you can say,
Yeah,
it registers and it can really have a positive impact.
for
So
sure.
it's a great position to be in.
Yeah,
And we're
thank
glad
you.
you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's really fun.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for watching. Be sure to follow us on our website, elizabethschooldistrict.org, and on our social media as well. And we'll see you next time.
See you guys later.